Today we are doing a complete breakdown of everything related to the Ethereal Workshop, how it works, the monsters, the song. We're doing a look at everything today, so keep watching, guys. So first up, besides the trailer that we've got, we also have a brand new teaser to take a look at. So over on the App Store, we have this wonderful image here, and it displays a few teasers here. But before we get into that, I want to look at the text that it reads underneath. And my God, guys, can we just point out to, what is this atrocity? What is squiggles right here? This is not what I signed up for. Anyway, we'll get on to that in a minute. In the text, it reads, journey into Ethereal Island to discover the Meebs, which are the critters, I do believe, that we saw inside of the trailer. And it says, and start tuning and synthesizing to meet new members of the Ethereal family like Blarret, Auglur, and more. But hang on a minute, who's Blarret and who's Auglur? Well, if we head on back to the monsters that we know about, these, of course, are the monsters here. So Auglur, let's start off with that one. I do believe Auglur is taking a bit of a gurgle noise here, I do think, in the name, with the glur sound. And I do think this therefore ties to the rain stick monster that we see, or rather, Sloth Eyes. Sloth Eyes no more, though, as this one's now got the official name, Auglur. This one, it has its huge stick here, and definitely brings into question the designs behind these. It does appear like they're going to have a specific style that they're going to follow, which is quite interesting. Now, inside of the trailer, though, we need to digest what exactly happened to make this wonderful Auglur monster. Well, first of all, we see this Meeb make its way on over to the Mirror Island structure, where it transforms into the Plasma variant. Over on the portal, we can see Mirror Plant Island here, representing Ghast, and therefore it's representing the Plasma element here. And when it heads on over to the pod, where monsters are synthesized, we can see it joins the Crystal and Shadow Meebs in order to also form Auglur here. Therefore, as wonderful Auglur is actually a Crystal, Shadow, and Plasma Ethereal. Actually meaning here that our triple and quad Ethereal Island is here, guys. I didn't even realize it when I was first watching the trailer, but this is our triple, quad, and quint Ethereal Island, guys. All along, it was here, and I just had no idea. This trailer, though, it was definitely very hard to dissect, so I don't understand why I was confused, as honestly, there's still questions even now. So going back to his wonderful theories that we've made in the past, that actually does mean that we're going to be getting 10 triple elemental Ethereals on this island, 5 quads, and of course, the mysterious elusive quint, if that is ever to come, which we all know must happen. You can't give us an Ethereal Island with all 5 Ethereal elements again and not give us the quint. It's the best way to end it. It's gotta happen. But moving on from that, we also had the name Blarret here. Now, Blarret obviously is referring to the ferret monster and llama monster. As you can see, La for llama and Ret for ferret, I do think, in the name. So Blarret is this absolute atrocity. I do not know what they have done to Squiggles here, but it is not good. It's got multiple mouths on it, and it looks so creepy. I thought it was going to be the cutest thing ever, and now I am just catastrophizing and wondering what has happened now. I don't have a clue, guys. But this one over here, you can see that it's quite a purpley color by the looks of things if we increase the brightness here. So I do think it's going to be a plasma one, and just based on its design, I'm also thinking it's going to be a shadow elemental with the mouths, and I would also throw in the poison element, because my God, is this thing disgusting. It's the complete opposite to what we were thinking, guys, in all truth, isn't it? We also heard its automaton sound at the end. All of you guys will have heard these sounds before because they were in the teasers, I do think, but we'll play this new sound, if it is a new one, for Blarret at the end with the full song as well, guys. So stay on the lookout for that at the very end. Now, also in his App Store image here, we also get a look at Petal, and most interestingly, the one which, honestly, I had the least hopes for has turned out probably to be the coolest looking one, which just comes to show you can never base anything off of silhouettes, especially when it comes to Blarret. MPG, never get carried away with silhouettes again. You've learnt your lesson now. I cannot believe the atrocity that I have to uncover in game now. Anyway, moving on to Petal, we got a tease towards its sound in there, obviously, again, and this one seems as though it sounded very similar to Ghast. I'm predicting it's going to have the plasma element, this one. Geode, probably because of its instrument, was keyboard-like one. Also with these hands here, very reminiscent of Geode. You can see the vibes there. Based on the eye, too, it looks very psychedelic, very reminiscent of the plasma element. It's hard to work out the third element, but I think it could be maybe a mech elemental, although that remains to be seen. The head here, you can see, is probably going to have some really cool animations, and the eyes looks really reminiscent of Theramine, this monster now we're looking at it. And the hands, going to be so cool to see how these animate. You can see rather than claws, these are actually appear to be hands levitating off this monster. Really cool looking, and I am so excited for this one, guys. Other than that, though, inside of this teaser, if we go on over to the right as well, you can see good old Dino's egg down here. Now, we saw inside of the silhouette that this guy has hexagon-like prisms on its eye stalks, and you can see those being represented on the egg here. Based on the coloring and it looking kind of poisonous, the gradient to it as well, poison element, obviously I do think geodes element to crystal, seeing as though it's aqua, and then we also do know that it plays a drum kit. So I would put that down to being mech as well. So we have another 3 elemental there. But those are all 3 elementals out of the 4 that we've got so far, but worry not, because inside of the trailer, we also saw a brand new silhouette. Just as I predicted, we are indeed getting 5 new Ethereals at the start of this island's release. So if we have a look down here, you can see this monster. It has a very ominous appearance here with a huge mouth at the center. However, if we up the ante and up this brightness here, you can see that this monster, in fact, has a tongue in the center of it. Very Bleaknik approved. I love this guy. Bleaknik approves of this monster. You got it going good, love. And then in the very center, you can see it's an aqua tongue, and to the sides of it, yellows, and it looks like aqua spots. It looks like this one is going to have a very mech theming behind it, and soon as well, we have 5 quad elementals. I actually have a prediction to put forward here. So on as natural islands, for example, we have quads that link towards individual elements, and because we're getting 5 quads this time around, it would be really cool, I think, if each quad had a specific tie more than the others to one specific element. Like Quarrister, it links towards the earth element, so I'm thinking this could be our mech quad elemental. Out of all of them, it feels like this one is the quad. Whether it's from its robot-like voice, which we'll play at the end, guys, it feels like it has that kind of a vibe to it. And also, going back to as monsters, I do think, seeing as though we've got 5 quad elementals and 10 triples, let's throw them elements up on screen while we're here too. I do think most of these are going to be triples, because there's a lot of triples here, and if we're going week by week and it's triple after triple, it's not going to be any good. So I do think we are going to be getting mostly triples out of these, which makes sense based on us only getting 1 quad. We're going to still have that quad representation, but I think the rest of the 4 is going to be as triples, and we're going to be waiting for the rest of the monsters over the coming weeks so we can experience this island to its absolute utmost, because it deserves that representation over the coming weeks. This also does explain why in my last video I thought the monsters looked like they suited having more elements. This makes sense now, is because of these elements on screen, guys. And very importantly too, not to forget here, the wonderful teasers we got to the island itself. This island looks so cool and is in fact set inside of the Ethereal Colossal, as said in the App Store description. This is not inside of the Colossal's creative imagination. No, this is inside of it itself. So here we're getting a look at all of the eyes and everything behind the Ethereal Colossal, and particularly towards the back, you can see the eyes of the Ethereal Colossal itself, because it has multiple eyes, the Ethereal Colossal. And also, we have gathered a lot of images towards what this island could look like from our trailer too. So let's pinpoint what this island could look like from the teasers that we have. So we obviously have the 2 structures to either side of the island. We're going to have a castle in the center, which we are yet to see. Absolutely still going to have that castle, because inside of the trailer too, you can actually hear the castle base's sounds. Never to forget Arthur's castle, can't leave it behind. And then also we had all of the cool vines that were leaping across this island, which are centered towards the back and make out the anatomy behind the Ethereal Colossal. This island is not just an Ethereal Workshop, guys, it is inside the Colossal itself. We're going to be seeing probably how the Colossals imbued themselves into the island in the first place, and the biological processes behind this thing. That's why this island looks so creepy, guys. It's because it's inside of the Colossal. We are seeing how it works functionally, and just how the Colossals managed to pull off this feat when there were spirits too. And speaking of Colossals, we also had these weird eye organisms at the very bottom that are tied to the colossals, and these amoeba structures to either side of the island, and of course the path at the very center, which has a very strange looking floor in comparison to the rest of the island, which I'm all down for, to be honest. Really weird, yet also really cool. Now, there's many questions from this trailer though, but something which I'm pretty interested in is this obstacle structure. It has a shadow inside of it. We've been getting lots of silhouettes, but yeah, this is another one, guys. But this one, it looks like it represents something quite like the Fire Oasis frog critter here, which probably is going to tie back to something quite important in the lore. So I'm quite interested to see what this creature could be. Perhaps it could tie back to something that was there before the colossals imbued themselves in the islands, as these were landmasses before, and there's bound to have been stuff going on before then. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the eyes are, and learning more about this ethereal colossal and how it went about creating this workshop is going to be just so good. The ethereal colossal is my favorite because I know it was just so creative, and it seems by far the most involved in all of the creative things behind the monster world itself. So finally getting a bit more on that is going to be really cool too, guys. I think by far though, just pointing out to this structure, what in the world is going on with the Mirror Islands? The Mirror Islands are an alternate reality. Well, this machine, it has no trouble just accessing them from this gateway and showing them, which is absolutely momentous and makes me question absolutely everything. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how this structure works. But in terms of how it works from a gameplay standpoint, let's look at that for a sec too, because I do think this Mirror Island structure is going to be absolutely integral to us working out how this island functions. So there's two possibilities I do see towards how this thing is going to work. So first up, I think it could be time-based, where you specify which meeb you want, and then you see the Mirror Island inside of it for the elemental meeb you're going to get. And then the second choice that I see is that it's just going to be completely random. You go to this thing, and then it produces a random meeb. Unfortunately, I do think that the randomness behind it is going to be its most likely scenario here. As you know, the Ethereals, they are quite elusive. If you're looking at the double elementals alone, they have hours up to 32 hours you're waiting for them. So I do think they are going to represent that inside of this still. Either way, whether it's random or if you're selecting which meeb you want from this Mirror Island structure, I think it is going to be displayed by the Mirror Island itself, which is a really unique mechanic, and I cannot wait just to see what the lore is behind this thing. If it can tell us more about the Mirror Islands, that would be so cool. And just questioning, how did the colossals make this in the first place is something what I want to see, because that means he knew about alternate realities as well, which is mind-blowing as a lore fanatic, guys. Now, there's other questions that this structure does bring up too. It brings up the question, how are you going to store these memes? Because you need to store them somehow in order to put them into the flower structure to synthesize the new monsters. And also it brings to question, is there going to be a meeb limit? Because if you can only have so many meebs, that means you're going to have to transform each one individually, and it's going to alter the mechanics a bit more, rather than, let's say, you can have infinite meebs when you attune them inside of this Mirror Island structure. And then it also does bring into question, if you do have a limit, are you given them at the start, or do you need another way to produce the meebs themselves to attune them? I do predict that this Mirror Island structure is going to be where we just make the meebs, and I would really like it to be where you can have limitless meebs, because I think that would be very helpful in preparing for monsters. But we will definitely have to see how this works, because those are the main questions right now. Other than our wonderful ethereal workshop inside of the trailer though, we also was revealed towards many upon many ethereal costumes. It turns out that each one indeed does have 2 costumes, just as we predicted, and therefore there's 20 costumes here, guys. So let's take a look at the ones that we've got. So first up, we got Wisp, which has multicolored hair now. My sister will absolutely love this one. We love Wisp. It's a big part of our childhood. We then had Nibulob in a spacesuit, looking very snazzy there, Nibulob. And this ties back to our teasers that we got as well. We thought one was Nibulob before on the Earth Island costumes inside of that teaser, but actually it's not, and we'll get to that in a minute. And then we had Socks in the Grandma costume, which I am so excited to see, honestly. I don't know why, but this one is my favorite so far. It feels like everything I needed and more, which I am in love with. Then we also had Gel Billy, which we've not got another teaser for here, but we saw it inside of the Water Island costumes teaser that we got. Then we also have this other Gel Billy one, where it's actually a railway conductor now, and it has a huge mustache once more. Really playing into the mustache with this. We have regularly as a propeller man, or shall we say, it looks like they've got the airship on the back of the head, which looks very strange, and the glasses too. hairdo, just iconic, man. Rocking the hairdo oracularly. Then we had Voodoo, who's got a detective setup. Very different colors on this one. I think it's going to stand out a lot, this costume on the island, just because of how different it looks. Definitely got some detective noir vibes to it, this one. Pretty exciting just from a color change standpoint, this one, I think. Then we have this one with an ice cream topper hat, which... I do question immensely, Voodoo. Why did you go to the bakery, get this thing, and put it on your head? Anyway, moving on. We also have this Casilio mon, where it's got a flower hand to the side of it, and what looks to be vines coming from its face. And I do believe for this one too, we might get a better look inside of the Season of Love one, what the hat behind this guy might look like. So I thought it was a wrestling mask, but it looks like it's actually going to be based around a flower, this one, because we know we're getting 2 costumes each. And if we go on to the next one, we already have a second one for Kazelian. So unless we're getting 3 for Kazelian, which is unlikely, I do think that that one ties to that one. So then we also have this prehistoric Kazelian as well, with that rocking hairdo that we got animated inside of the trailer, with magnifying glass. Very archaeological, and as though they're doing research here, which tied into the themes of the trailer really well. And then we had Bellowfish with a huge cart. You can see that this one is going to be the rarest variant of the costumes, can't you? One where they're in the shower, which... Why are some of these made? I do not understand. It's got a cute beanie on it. That's the best you're getting from this one. We have a dragon, which has muck on the top of it, and okay, I'm questioning it. We have a neckerchief as well, a pretty cool one, but again, questioning. We have Dragon here, which was also featured in the trailer, wearing a night mask and night attire. Pretty cool, this one. And his final one, which we were teased towards, a pretty large amount there, weren't they? But we've also got Fung Prey in the robotic getup, which was teased along with the Earth Island costumes way back when that we brought up. So this wasn't actually Nibulob, it was Fung Prey. Get wrecked, everyone. I suppose I'm saying get wrecked to myself, though, because I was the one predicting it. Oh, well. Anyway, moving on to the release behind these things. Everything mentioned here, the Ethereal Workshop, the Ethereal costumes, it's all coming this Wednesday. So get hyped, guys. The App Store confirms it. I do predict that new Ethereal monsters are going to be coming over the next few weeks. We're not going to be waiting months for these guys. Once the island does come, we're going to be getting new ones every few weeks or so. Maybe it could be like Magical Sanctum, where we get a new one every 2 weeks. Or maybe it's going to be every month. Either way, we're not going to be waiting forever, like with Mythical Island, which is always pleasant news. Now, that was a complete breakdown behind the Ethereal Workshop and the Ethereals. This is an Ethereal Madness update. But guys, we of course do have to go over now the full song. So we got some predictions coming up. I'm trying my best to remain a bit spoiler-free, as I don't know if teaser sounds were the same as the trailer sounds, so there's quite a few headways here. So as wonderful community has put forward again, which I'm going to play is the sounds behind the monsters, and then we also have a full song prediction based on the trailer. So throw it away, MPG. I'll see you guys later though for now. Bye!